YouTube? This is Mr. Mean coming at you this Sunday morning about 8 o'clock in the morning. My little man decided to wake everybody up, so I thought I'd whip out a video real quick. As you can see on the screen, we are looking at Hardwired Island Retro Future Cyberpunk. Full disclosure, this was provided to me from the fine folks at Hardwired Weird Age Games. Paul Metjevic, Freya, I'm not even going to say that last name, and Minerva. I reached out to the company because I had seen it on Drive-Thru RPG, and the cover art actually caught my attention. And I looked at the price, and it was $30 for the PDF. I guess it's just coming out of Kickstarter. So full disclosure, they did provide this to me, the PDF copy, for free. I told them that I would do a review and give them my initial thoughts, and so that's what I wanted to do today. First of all, what you see on the screen here is there's a player's reference, and then there's the actual full core, book. These are in PDF right now, and I believe the hardback copies or softbound copies, I'm not quite sure which format it's coming out, will be available hopefully pretty soon. I'm going to say that initial reaction is very cool. I love the art. It's a retro. So in this, it's funny because in this version of Retro Future Cyberpunk, the world goes to shit in a handbasket in 2020, and you are thrown into it, and you are expected to make characters. It's kind of a rules light system, but yet it has some cool depth. First and foremost, this is a PDF, so I can't judge the quality of the printed content because I don't have a print copy, but I will say that the PDF version is very nice. It is not hyperlinked. I'm sorry, it is. I begged it. I didn't check that. I should have looked into that. We'll scroll through this. I apologize. I didn't realize it was hyperlinked, so I stand corrected. The art is very 80s anime, Bubblegum Crisis, Ghost in the Shell, that kind of art. Akira, as you can see right here, is a full panel art. I do like the layout. I like the presentation of the material. The colors are vibrant and they pop. I would love to see a hard copy print of this. I'm not gonna lie, $30 for the PDF was steep, and so like I said, I reached out to them, and they were kind enough to provide a review copy. So I think once a physical copy of the book comes out, I probably will pick it up to add it to the collection, and just to have some more cyberpunk goodness. And with Foundry VTT, which is my VTT of choice, I did manage to pick up some super cool cyberpunk maps. So this may be something that sees gameplay on the channel, or at least in my personal life. I gotta say, I do dig it. I'm gonna get that out of the way right now. Everybody on the channel knows I'm not a fan of D6 games, but guess what? This uses D6, and I keep saying I'm not a fan of D6 games, but this is a D6 game, so it kind of kills me. It's very reminiscent of like Blades in the Dark or You're Powered by the Apocalypse, but with a little more crunch put on it, but not much. If you want a pretty lightweight, fast RPG, I think, and you want a retro cyberpunk, this may be the game for you. And by no means do you have to play this as retro cyberpunk. You could, if you have R. Talsorian's books, or you have Low Life and you want to use that world and use these mechanics, you could totally get away with that. I think it's very viable. So we're going to kind of go through the player handout right here, the player reference, which is really neat because what this does is this gives you everything the player needs in roughly 100 pages, whereas the core book is 400 pages. So I am interested to, again, like I said, to see what the physical book looks like, because I think it's going to be gorgeous. And we've gotten to that stage in our role-playing du jour that it's not unusual to see 400 page plus books, hardback and maybe even softback. I know DCC did a softback of their DCC role-playing game, and I have it. It's phenomenal, and I highly recommend it. But I think having this as a softback would be kind of cool. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be an offer or not, but I think this is something that would get flipped through a lot. I personally am not a PDF guy. I have a really nice iPad Pro, 12.9 inch, and while it's amazing to look at content, I just don't like it. I don't like reading PDFs on a screen. It taxes my eyes, and I prefer a physical book in my hand. So seeing this as a soft-bound, 400-page, easy to flip through book would be amazing. Of course, I would want it in hardback as well, but I've been known to buy 2 copies of rule books. It's not unusual for me. So we start on page 7 is where we start getting into stuff, and we get the year is 2020. In the distant future of 2020, humanity has spread to space. A meteorite struck Earth's northern hemisphere in 1996. The impact caused widespread environmental damage that humanity has yet to fully recover from. But its supercharged public interest in space exploration around the world, new political unions began pouring money into space programs. The result is Grand Cross, an O'Neill cylinder in the Earth-Moon L5 point. It's Earth's gateway to the stars, a launching point for missions to Mars and beyond, and a beacon of hope for its people. But it's in crisis. An alliance of space-based corporations known as the Off-World Cartel has moved in. While they sell space exploration as a shared dream they strive for along with everyone else, their true aim is control of Grand Cross, and through it, the future of space settlement. As their influence spreads, so does inequity and crime, or inequality and crime. The cartel has convinced the current government to privatize many of the systems that keep Grand Cross running, and the station is slowly falling apart. Behind the scenes, they have even more underhanded schemes running in secret. If the next election favors the cartel, they'll be on their way to becoming the landlords of human space. All right, so there's our intro to the game. That basically we've got this huge megacorp, the Off-World cartel, and they're the bad guys. There's standard cyberpunk theme. We have a huge megacorp that is trying to further their own nefarious goals, and it's up to you as the cyberpunks to fight the system, or fight the process, or fight the man, or just fight something. The stagnation of humanity as we try to spread across the skies and the stars. It's up to you, and you're going to build a character that is going to work in this world. And of course, there's cyberpunks, there's enhancements, there's software. Your body is, what is the old saying from one of the other games? Your mind is a computer. Upgrade the program. So I really like their premise here. And again, it's 2020. They've thrown their timeline kind of back a little bit. A meteorite hits Earth, and everything goes to shit in a handbasket, and we struggle to reach the stars. And then, of course, the corporate greed kicks in, and they give you a very good overview of the world. Here's a little talk about tabletop RPGs and the setting, but what players do Cyberpunk, and it just goes into telling you everything. Gives you your chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Capitalism, no thanks. I think that I like some of their taglines and their the editorial stance that the book takes. They give you a bunch of different themes, retro, future, and again, by no means are you pigeonholed into playing in this retro future version of Cyberpunk. You could totally import this into low life if you're not a fan of the low life mechanics, which why wouldn't you be? It's a great system. Or Altar Sorian's Cyberpunk Red. You could throw this flavor on, or these mechanics on top of that. So you have some flexibility here. I think the mechanics are very good, but we'll get into those as we get further in. So inspiration, obviously you can see here, Bubblegum Crisis and Cowboy Bebop. That's their two, Ghost in the Shell and Police Knots. The 4 iconic animes that really set the standard for, late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, early 2000s anime. So definitely good stuff. And again, we get this history of the world and where everything's at and what's going on, just to give players an overview of the world and get you into the right mindset for playing in that genre or that time frame. That's an alternate time frame from our real world. And of course, the off-world threats, is you're trying to survive on Grand Cross because Earth is almost uninhabitable, or it's stripped of all its resources, and it's just, it's a bad place to be. So most people live on Grand Cross that can afford to get there. And the problem is once you get there, you can't afford to go anywhere else, and so you're fighting the economic situation that it is. But there's gangs. Law enforcement is kind of a joke. You can hear my 4-year-old in the background. I apologize, but hey, that is life. Other factions. So it gives you everything you need. And here we go. Here's the Grand Cross Station. Here's the vital statistics. So super cool. I'll let you read that on your own. Better yet, go buy the PDF and support this indie press company. I think the art right there is pretty cool. Here we see a heavily armored, what appears to be some sort of corpsec guy, and he's just beating an android. So and then these punks, come to his rescue, or perhaps he's part of the group. I would assume, judging by the art, and he looks like a kid with cyber legs, or he might even be an android of some kind, that they're all together and they're just taking it to the man who's about to put the smackdown on the kid. So the art is pretty evocative. The mechanic system, it's a 2d6 system. This is, again, I always state I don't like 2d6 systems, but here is another one that I like. Your standard difficulty is 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. It's pretty simple, especially when you're talking a bell curve of the average die roll is a 7. So you're probably gonna make it most of the time if it's a routine or a simple task. And of course, as things get more difficult, modifiers and everything are gonna help you. The cyber in your wear is gonna help you, and all that fun stuff. So equal or exceed the difficulty number, and you succeed whatever you're trying to do. Failure, and this is where the powered by the apocalypse kind of deal comes in. When you fail, you just don't get what you want. There may be side effects. The GM offers you a bargain, or you get a near miss, or you get a near success. So I think this gives a lot of narrative control to the GM and the players, which I like. There's some flexibility in there, and while they're not going full on powered by the apocalypse, they are taking parts of it that obviously they liked and they felt would enhance the gameplay. Now, full disclosure again, I haven't got to play this yet. I would like to. So if the developers out there watch this, please, if you're running a game, please include me. I would be lovely to play. You can see there's a bell curve chart, dice probability. So you can figure out what your odds are there. Dice mechanics. So advantage, this is where it sets itself apart from like Powered by the Apocalypse or Blades in the Dark or any of those game systems, and that when you have advantage, and again, you can see the influence of D&D 5th edition, and some other key game elements in here. But advantage is you get to roll an extra die and take the higher of the 2d6. So obviously rolling more dice is chance for greater success, but also chance for greater failure. But you get to roll 3 dice, and then of course if you have disadvantage, you still get to roll a 3rd dice, but you're required to take the 2 lowest dice. So I think that's kind of cool. When you get a boost, you get to add an additional d6 to your roll, and it becomes a 3d6. When you're asked to make a save against the difficulty, roll 2d6 and add the relevant ability and hope you succeed. A critical, this is what I like. Some actions you can take will have a critical effect attached to them, and you can have a critical effects added by certain items and abilities, so cyberware or programming. If an action has a critical effect in its description, it happens. If the roll is a success and at least 2 dice show the same number, if you have advantage or disadvantage, discard dice before checking for critical. So what that means is when you roll doubles, you get a critical. So if you manage to get a critical by rolling doubles after you've added or subtracted your dice and you succeed at the target number, you get a critical, which is super cool. Harm, the result of dice rolls by 1 harm suffered. If you roll 2d6 and you get a 10 and you suffered 1 harm, that 10 becomes a 9. So basically, it's a +1 -1 serious harm. You roll 1 fewer die. So that's kind of, your 2d6 becomes 1d6. And obviously you can't crit when you're only rolling 1 die. So character creation is the next step. We've gotten a brief overview of the dice mechanic, and now we go into character creation. And I'm not going to delve into this too much because I haven't got to play the game, but you can see you get your abilities, your origins, your traits, occupation, talents, specialities, defenses, assets, burden. I really like the burden aspect, and a personal goal. And then it goes through explaining all of this, your abilities, and again, very, very dungeon world powered by the apocalypse kind of deal, in my opinion. And you're going to choose, here it talks to you about your traits, your occupation, what you do, your talents, your specialities, your defenses, your assets, and your burden. Burden is a rough measure of your character's socioeconomic status, and this is pretty good. This is where my friend and subscriber on my Discord channel, Cosmic Flux, likes playing faces, characters that can manipulate people emotionally or verbally, and I think this is where this would be a great game for him, because I think he does play a really good face, and I think using burden to manipulate things and to know your place kind of in the society would allow him to role play that, and I think burden is a really cool concept. And then of course we go into character creation, and again, this side of the screen over here is the player's reference book. It's 100 pages, and then of course the core rule book is over here with that phenomenal art on the cover. I really like it. But you choose your origin, and of course it just walks you through character creation, and your abilities. This is what I like. You get +0, +1, +2, +3. So you have to decide what you're really good in and what you're not so good in. And there's only 4 abilities. So, cool, clever, tough, or quick. So, obviously, speaking again of my friend Cosmic Flux, obviously he'd probably throw his +3 and his +2 into cool and clever, but maybe quick as well. So you get some... while you have 4 choices, you get a lot of variance in those 4 choices to make some things on what you want to be dominant and what you want to be, not so dominant. And then, of course, you choose an occupation once you've applied your stats. Once you've chosen your occupation, you choose your second trait. Ideally, this trait describes what your approach is to problem solving has brought you, good or bad. So it's really kind of a quick character creation. I mean, you're making some choices here. There's no dice rolling. You just make a bunch of choices, and you go in, and you're able to dive in and start playing. You can whip up a character. I think once you get this character creation system down, because it literally is a bunch of choices, and of course there's going to be some quote unquote uber choices or default choices where you're just going to be Billy Badass, but that's part of the cyberpunk way, right? You're really good at something, but you're going to be not so good at something else, and so that's where you want to build a diverse party and hopefully play to your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. And again, the layout of the book really facilitates the flow of the game. I like it. I get the feeling that I'm looking at like a data pad, and I'm scrolling through on my tablet to find stuff, and I kind of like that. And of course here we have an example of character creation. Soyoung, and you can see Faizu is making a PC, and it walks you through, and I love it because he's a K-pop rapper. It just strikes me as funny, because I've actually went on YouTube and watched a couple of those K-pop videos, and I wanted to gouge my eyes out with a hot spoon, but that's just me, and I'm a grognard, so that's not my kind of music. But I thought it was kind of funny, and it is appropriate for this setting. So I could see playing some K-pop music in the background as you're running your session, or some techno punk, something like that would really enhance the mood. So it goes through a nice character creation. You get a feel for how the system works and how burden comes into play. is when he's starting this character. And of course, you could see the art there. Very cartoony. It works for the system, though. It doesn't detract from it. And then here's you're playing the game, your basic mechanics of how to do things, taking actions, and very much they are trying to get you into the just don't chuck dice and say I shoot. They want you to describe what your character is doing, and then you and the GM have a minor conversation about what's going to happen and how you're going to achieve that, which is very similar to how a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games, Dungeon World, Blades in the Dark, that kind of thing. You're going to have this give and take back between you and the GM, and I like that. Try to solve a problem using your knowledge and skills. The appropriate ability and speciality is determined by the action. So it's cut and dry. You want to jump over, that's probably going to be agility, and acrobatics or athletics or something like that if you want to jump over a rooftop. So yeah, very, very cool, very simple. It's not rocket science here. All right, so going back in here, optional rules, you can roll initiative every round, or you can do solid state initiative, whereas the players act as a group. So complex initiative, and 2d6 plus quick plus initiative speciality if you have it. So it's pretty simple. So your fast players are going to be fast. Your slow players are going to be slow. Social matters and other bloodshed. That's a great title. So here we have, the party example social scene. We make up a bunch of different stuff, and it's very cool. Bullshit. There you go. She wants to placate him with a bribe or risk. Bullshitting again is a skill. So there you go. So they give you some cool examples of how to do skill resolution. So they really, I think, as a player's reference, this book is pretty spot on. You get a lot of, obviously, player reference, and you should, as a player, you would print this out or have it on your laptop or your PDA or even your phone, and you could reference this as it needed. I think it's pretty solid. Like I said, I do like the cartoony art. It's not my favorite style, but as we've stated before here on the channel, art for RPGs is really expensive. Now, I am glad they got this super cool art for the cover. My only I guess if I had a quibble about it, is that this cover sets a tone and an expectation for your eyes, and then when you get in it and you see this art, it just doesn't match. And I get that, and that's okay. But it just kind of does let me down a little bit. So here we go, some hacking options, which is very personal, are very relevant to the game, obviously. And you can see the art there follows the same theme throughout. Attacks, pins, doing harm. This is how things work. So very, very simple. Recovery, example fight, which is pretty cool, because now we had a social situation where we saw how that works, and now we have a combat situation. So it gives you really good examples. I wish more role-playing games would do this, because it's okay to understand how the basic die mechanic works, but then when you have to put it into practice, sometimes the execution doesn't meet the expectation. And here we get an idea of how a social situation works, how a physical situation works, and I think it's great that they give you both of those examples, and that's really cool. And they give you some, running a mission as a player. This is what the player needs to know about running a mission. Now the GM's book is going to go deeper into that, and tell you, but this is what the player needs to know. So I think it's really good that they give you all this. And managing money, again, more kind of, in this case, kind of cool art. I like the programming the cyber leg, and there she is. Yeah, fix my leg. So I think that's pretty cool. Economic shocks, cash, using cash, storing cash, and in all kinds of, just, it goes into the more aspects of the game that are specific to this game, and I like that. And again, a good section on burden, example communities, stuff for the GM and or the players to be a part of and kind of figure out what they want to do, where they fit in to this hardwired island, so that they can go through and be functional parts of the cyberpunk society and figuring things out and getting things done. So it's giving a lot of player investment, which I really like. And again, the layout of the book is pretty solid. Everything is laid out really well. Here's all your different talents and your basically your occupations, of what you're gonna do and things. Street fighter, but I mean pretty cut and dry there. Thief, so tons of stuff. And again, 100 pages for the player is pretty solid. Again, cool art there. I like that. Nice full page spread. Cybernetics and assets, the stuff you're going to spend your money on, your loot, wearables. I mean, everything in here is kind of given a very cool vibe, so it's definitely got that cyberpunk feel to it, and gives you the option, it gives you some direction on how to make your game feel cyberpunk. So even if you've never ran a cyberpunk, I think this is a good introductory game into the genre of cyberpunk, because it's throwing it into a time frame that most of us have a reference with. We've been alive in 2020, in the 10 years previous, if we're role playing. Even if you're a young teenager, you were around in 2020 probably, or 2015, and so you have some frame of reference and things like that. So, and of course they diverge from our timeline because it is a role-playing game, but you have your androids and cybernetics, your parents, advanced cyborgs. You can always make the cyberpsychosis uber bad guy, and illegal augments, and restricted. So super cool stuff. You can turn that into an adventure right there, how to get that uber cool cyber arm that is illegal. And the one, and then of course some information and general information. The one thing where I think the game really falls lackluster and flat is this character sheet. I think it is just, it's horrible. I'm sorry. There's no other better way to put this. I mean, I would be more comfortable just using a plain sheet of paper than using this. It is, I don't know what happened, if they ran out of time and they were just trying to get it to Kickstarter. I don't know. But it was, it's not good. And I think there's some better things, like, maybe put a watermark on it, like this image over here in the background as a watermark. That would have given it some flavor. But I think they could use some help with their character sheet. But that is the player's reference. The GM's book kind of goes into the same thing. Let's see here. Let's look at table of contents. There we go. Let's go to running the game. That's what we want to see. So, and we're gonna make that big. So again, the same section that we had in the players group, but expanded upon for the GM, and I think that's super cool. Giving you your prep, your cash rewards, everything you need to know. So this is the full core book. The players won't have access to this, but launch systems, pre-generated NPCs, plot hooks, the Dreamer season, and Terabyte Boys. So this I like. We've got a visual. You can print this one page, and you've got a ready-to-play character. And we definitely have some. And the nice part, and I give them cool as well. I'm not a huge fan of the interior art style as far as the character designs. I do like and praise consistency. It's one of the things I harp about on my channel all the time. Have consistent art, and man, do these guys nail it. Very consistent art. And here's the pre-gens. This is the chick that was getting her cyber leg worked on in the player's reference manual, and that's the decker or the hacker that was doing it. That's the fixer guy, and that was the guy that we saw fighting with the cop. So there's the other guy. So very much some of the art that's referenced throughout the book is these pre-gen characters, and I like that. I like the consistency of the art. So we've got some plot hooks and some material here to go through. and it's super cool. I do like the little scooter picture. So again, just layout, the contextual content is really good. We've got an adventure here, the Terabyte Boys, what's happening, what's going on, a couple random charts for the GM to roll on. There you go, cool art. You could print that out. You could scan that in if you're using a VTT and make that a nice thing. Again, super cool art, setting the situation. And again, they keep the consistent art. You know, I may not be an uber fan of it, but it is consistent and really helps set the scene. And it does have that 80s anime vibe to it, or 90s anime vibe to it. So you got to kind of like it in that aspect. But the art is like these art pictures. I do like. I like those. Those are very nice. Good use of color and everything. So of course, a bunch of it is a D6 game. So of course we're gonna have our D66 tables that we can roll on, which is super cool. And then you go from there. Again, just tons of stuff. And then of course our index, the Kickstarter backers, and then crazy art. Thanks for reading. So, and again, that horrendous character sheet. Just not a fan of the character sheet. Sorry, just doesn't do it for me. So there's my thought on the another nice piece of splash art there. Let's go back to there we go. Oh, let's do this. Let's go all the way up to the top. So there we go. So we get the art in a kind of a chroma, I forgot what sepia tone, as well as the full color art. So the sepia tone is obviously the player's book, a player's reference as they call it, and then the Hardwired Island retro future cyberpunk RPG in full color. Both have full color on the interior, full page count, hypertext in the PDFs as we saw in the beginning. So super cool. I think it's worth your time to check it out if you like this style of anime art, if you like the near future or modern day cyberpunk taken in an ulterior timeline. I think this is a cool game. I like the mechanics. They feel fresh. They feel like they're very workable, and you get enough of a choice when making your character that your characters are going to feel empowered and able to fight against these big corporations, the cartel and everything. So this is I think this is we're going to give this a buy in Mr. Mean's seal of approval. And again, full disclosure, the Weird Age Games did provide this to me for free. I reached out to them and said, hey, $30 is steep for me, but I would like to review your copy, your game on my channel. And they got back to me super fast and very polite and very kind. And so nice to see an indie publisher willing to take a risk on a small channel like Mr. Mean Speaks and give me the opportunity to purview their game. I'm very impressed with it, and I think it'll be a cool game. I would love to get it to the table and give it a try, or at least be a player in it. So if anybody's running a game, let Mr. Mean know. I wouldn't mind giving it a try. It does look cool. I love that cover. I love the fact that they did a player's reference book, and it's a true player's reference book. It gives you everything you need to play the game as a player. And then the GM's book gives you all of that, plus everything you need to GM the game. And it's really, really well laid out, from front to back. I will say, guys, get somebody to design you a character sheet. That's the only thing. I'm hoping this will have virtual tabletop support. That seems to be the way things are going nowadays. But it's solid, guys. I think you would do really well to pick this up and add it to your gaming collection. So that's going to be all from Mr. Mean. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like and subscribe. I think we're up to 885 subscribers. We're trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark for the year of 2021. I think we can do it. We're almost halfway through 2021, and so I'd like to start 2022 with 1,000+ subscribers. So help help me help you make that come true. I really appreciate all the likes and subs and the new subscribers. There's been a ton of people that have joined the channel in the last few weeks. My next video, I will take some time to give a shout out and everything to all those new subscribers. So a big kudos to you guys. As always, there'll be links to all of everything down in the doobly-doo. I have a Patreon. It's $5 a month. It gets you a designator on Discord. It gets you first shot into any games that I run, and then every once in a while when I get free copies of RPGs or whatever, I do a raffle and send them out to you. So either a PDF or physical copy, whatever the developers or designers design to send me. So PayPal Pay Me, Patreon, Discord. I have a Discord channel. We're very active, very positive community there. Come in. It's inviting. We talk about RPGs. If you want to talk about video games and other stuff like that, there's plenty of other channels out there. Our channel focuses mainly on tabletop RPGs, and that's the community that we've developed, and it's a great community. Super nice guys. Nasser Super Beast is very active in the community. We've got several different designers that are in the community as well. So definitely come by and take a peek if you're interested. And there will be links down in the doobly-doo. So as always, peace, love, and hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says be nice.